Hello and welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. Today we're going to talk about painting pumpkins, but I have a special trick for you that's going to make them look like painted stone or painted concrete, and you're going to love the way they look. Today's video is sponsored by Tester's Craft Paint. However, all projects and opinions are my own. So what are we going to do? We're going to take Tester's acrylic craft paint and we're going to mix it with baking soda to get this stone look to our pumpkin, so it gives like a rough textured look to the pumpkin itself. And I'm going a little bit non-traditional with my colors, but you can do whatever colors you would like for this project. So stick with the traditional if you would like. Do like browns, oranges, whites, whatever, or navy blue, pink, and light blue if you would like. Now, I'm going to add an option to the end of adding some cut vinyl to your pumpkins. You can do this if you would like. You don't have to at all. I think it looks really cool with the textured look, but you can skip this. Stick with just the plain painted pumpkins on your mantle or your fall decor, whatever you would like. So let's take a look at the supplies we're going to use. And here are the supplies you're going to need. So you'll need an acrylic paint. I like Tester's Craft Paint. And you'll need a variety of colors. So I'm going to kind of do this like non-traditional, but you can choose any colors you would like. So I'm going to use navy blue, a blue fog, and fuchsia. Now you can use black and white with just one color to like lighten and darken it to get a variety of shades if you would like. Then we're going to use baking soda to put in the paint to get that rough texture. We're going to need some mixing cups. Of course, the pumpkin. So I'm just using some faux pumpkins. You can pick these up at a variety of stores. Paintbrushes, stir sticks, and then toothpicks, like small dowel rods, something like that, and some foam. And we're going to use these to hold the pumpkins as the paint dries. And then after the paint dries, you can add cut vinyl if you would like. So I've got some circles here that I'm going to add to some of mine just to give you an illustration of how that looks. So let's start by mixing the paint. So I'm starting with about 1 tablespoon of the paint in this mixing cup, and I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of baking soda, one at a time, to my cup. I'm adding them one at a time just so I don't spill it everywhere, basically. So just sort of stir them up, 1 teaspoon, add a 2nd teaspoon, and stir that up. Now, you can add more or less baking soda depending on the look you're going for. The more you add, the more texture it will have. You can, however, get to where you added so much that the paint is super, super thick and not easy to spread. So I would recommend starting out with just a little bit and adding more as you go, just to make it a bit easier on yourself. So I'm going to go with about 2 teaspoons and just stir that up. All right, now I've set my paint aside for just a minute so we can take a look at my samples here. So this is the paint by itself without any baking soda. This end is with the baking soda, so you can see hopefully an illustration of the texture that the baking soda provides. So it will give you like almost a painted concrete look to your pumpkins, which I love for fall. Now this is the fuchsia, and this is the navy blue Tester's paint. And then we're using the blue fog for our example today. So I've actually painted some pumpkins with both this pink fuchsia and the navy blue separately. So now that you've seen the samples, let's talk a little bit about how to paint those pumpkins easily. So I find when painting pumpkins, the easiest thing to do is to remove the stem. And you may need to work it a little bit. You might even need to use a pair of pliers to hold it and just work it out, because I don't like the stems painted. If you do, by all means just leave it on, but I like to take it off. Usually the whole thing will pull off, but this one actually broke, so I'll just hot glue it back on after I've completed my painting. And then to paint the whole thing at one time, we're going to stick a dowel rod into the center. So these are just like foam pumpkins. So we can just stick the dowel rod down into the pumpkin. And now we have something to hold it by to add that paint. And once we're done painting it, I'll just put it right in this foam block to dry. And that way it has a place to dry as well. So now let's start painting the pumpkin. Remember, with our mixed paint here that we added the baking soda to. So we're just going to dip the paint in, and as you can see, we've let it sit a couple minutes and now it's pretty thick, and we're just going to start applying this. Now, it depends on the color of your pumpkin, as well as the color you're painting, how many coats you'll need. I find about 3 coats is pretty good. So I paint 1 coat, allow that to dry, paint a 2nd coat, allow that to dry, and then paint a 3rd. I do find this baking soda paint dries pretty quickly, so I'm able to go over the top fairly quickly as soon as it dries. So I might paint this one, paint another one. By the time I'm done painting that 2nd one, this one will be dry and I can add a 2nd coat. So it doesn't take that long. Now, if you're going to add the vinyl to the surface, you may want to let your pumpkins dry overnight before adding that vinyl. So as you can see, the dowel rod makes it super easy to paint the entire pumpkin all at once without having to like let it dry and then paint the other side or something like that. And now I can just stick it in any kind of foam, allow it to dry, and then add another coat of paint. All right, so here's a navy blue pumpkin that I painted several coats on and allowed it to dry. I'm allowing my light blue ones to dry right now. Now, these look like stone when you're done. They are fine just the way they are. Or you can also add vinyl to them. So I'm gonna add a few polka dots to this one. Now, because this is textured at this point, you might wanna go over the top of your vinyl with something like Mod Podge or another sealer, because the vinyl will probably lift up on you, especially like the surface is curved and then the surface is now rough because we've added that textured paint. So add the vinyl, put a couple coats of Mod Podge on it, allow that to dry, and then these are ready to be displayed around your home. Now, who's ready to grab that baking soda, Testors acrylic craft paint, and get started painting all the pumpkins for fall? So there's plenty of time to paint your pumpkins for that fall look. Now, if you just paint them like this, I would definitely say that they would be fine outdoors. If you add the vinyl, again, with the rough texture, I would add Mod Podge over the top. If you're gonna put them outdoors, make that an outdoor Mod Podge over the top, probably 3 coats. And I definitely would use like a permanent vinyl as well. Anything to make sure that the vinyl adheres properly and stays put for the long term would be what you would want to do. So hopefully that inspires you to create these stone ceramic looking pumpkins for your fall decor with Testors acrylic craft paint, available in a huge wide variety of colors. So whether you want to go with the pink and navy look or you want to go a little bit more traditional. So thank y'all so much for joining me. If you liked this video, learned something new, give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything we've covered, please drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos like this every week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank y'all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.